Hello. It's your girl Queen 504. You know it's a devil. And I know I don't go live and I don't. Um I'm going live today because I had a chance to 2 days ago. I am currently getting ready to move out of Louisiana. So I wanted to make sure I stopped by and saw him and chatted with him before I left. So I caught up with him 2 days ago, and I just wanted to jump on here live for really the first time. And now I feel uncomfortable and talk about Big Red. Who was Big Red? Um, Big Red is someone that I met in 1999, the same year that I met everybody else from Cash Money Records. But with Red, I didn't like Red. When I first met Red, I didn't meet Red at the concert where I met everybody else in 1999. I didn't meet him until they came back from the Cash Money Rough Riders tour. So that had to be January, maybe January 2000. It was 2000 when they came back from the Cash Money Rough Riders tour, and I met him, and I didn't like him. I just saw him pulling up in that raggedy ass station wagon he had, but he loved the shit out that station wagon, and he came in with like, an attitude like he was that nigga, but nigga, you was in a raggedy ass station wagon. But what I didn't understand about the dynamic of Cash Money Records back then, coming, meeting them and coming into the fold, was that he kind of was a little bit that nigga because he had transportation. He was one of the few that had transportation at the time. A lot of the sharks didn't have transportation, and they were catching rides to try to get to the office over in Metairie to get to the Shoney's Inn on exit 226. And so Red having a station wagon, you could fit a lot of them niggas in that station wagon and bring them over to the Shoney's Inn. So Big Red is from the Melphamine. He's not from the Magnolia, but him and Baby and Slim, and this is information that told to me. So this is information that came from Red and people around them to me. They grew up together. Baby, Slim, Red spent the night at each other's houses. So that's how Red came to work with Cash Money Records. Um, so I came to know him as a bodyguard when I first met them for Cash Money Records. And that's all because he was so big. It was like, okay, he got to be a bodyguard. It was him when I first met them. It was Red. It was Big Woo. It was DJ Slab 1. So before Slab began DJing at the radio station, he was on the road with Cash Money too. It was Trevin. It was Rusty. It was Freckleface Jeff. It was Butcher Knife Killer. It was Brother. Ziggly Wiggly was in the fold back then. Stone, Lack. When I moved to New Orleans in '99 because I started messing with somebody with Cash Money. So I moved to um, Metairie in 99 for this person. And once I moved to New Orleans, because I had transportation, you know, I became a ride for the Sharks to get to from point A to point B to point C. So that's kind of how I got in well, with them, is because I would have to bring them places, from this place to that place to that place. And so that's how I started learning about them, learning, where the office was, learning where they spent time at, which was at the Shoney's Inn. Um, Learning all the nuances of Cash Money Records because I was around so much. And I knew I was in when one day we were at the office and Baby was out there, Slim, Big Woo, Cash Money Vamp. It was about 12 of us out there at the office that day. And we had been there for a long time that day. So it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And Baby called his girl, which is his kid's mom. He called her and he was like, what you got cooked or whatever. I don't know if she had already cooked or he told her to cook. But by the time we made it to her apartment, she had fried chicken, macaroni and cheese. Like, she had a whole spread set out by the time we made it to her apartment. At that time, she was living in an apartment in Harahan. For people from New Orleans, they gonna know what I'm talking about. Harahan was not far from Clearview. If you keep going down Clearview, you'll run into Harahan. So it was some apartments back there, and it's like we just kind of showed up at her crib deep, and I was just like, damn, I can't believe I'm sitting here at baby mama house with Slim, Baby, the bodyguards, whatever. So that night, I was like, damn, girl, you in. So, but I didn't realize, how really in I was at that point, because when you in it, you kind of can't see things clearly for what they are. So there were a lot of things that transpired over time to make me know that I was like in the clique. I was no longer an outsider, like looking in. I remember for Baby's birthday party, the nigga was 26 years old for about 3 years. So for 3 years, he had a cake that said happy 26th birthday. I think I posted a picture on my Instagram of that first birthday cake that I was in New Orleans, that we had to go and pick up from somebody's house on Amelia Street. And we went and picked the cake up. That's when I knew I was just like in. Like, I'm picking this nigga birthday cake up to take to the Superdome for his birthday party. So I'm like, okay, we in there. The next time I think that I was just like, damn, I'm in. They had a concert in Thibodaux, Louisiana, which is outside of New Orleans, probably a little bit southwest of New Orleans. And they had a concert in Thibodaux. I don't even remember how I got there. I don't remember how I got there, but I do remember that to get back to New Orleans, I had to ride with Fresh. At the time, Fresh had a little two-seater, and it was me and somebody else that had to ride back with him. So I had to ride all the way back from Thibodeau to New Orleans, sitting on somebody's lap in Manny Fresh little two-seater with him bumping hot boy shit. Okay, he kept it real. He was bumping hot boy shit. And so again, it's like, how did I get here? How did I get in with these people? So what made me kind of do this live tonight, to talk about Red and our conversation. um, I come and see him every time I'm close to him, in town and close to him, maybe about 45 minutes from him. I will always go and see him, take him out, go get him something to eat, whatever, whatever. Because over all of these years, that I have been with Cash Money, from 1999 up until CeeLo passed in 2020, if we went to shows, now CeeLo was my man, as y'all can see. Maybe y'all can't see. Let me see. Y'all see that tattoo right there? CeeLo. If CeeLo would tell me to come to a show and he was too busy to come out and get us and bring us in, Red would always come and make sure that me and all my people got in. And it was never, nobody left behind. He would make it, if I had 10 people with me, maybe I ask you, you wouldn't want to be able to get you in. Like, if Baby is the one that's standing at the door and telling them what people to let in, you don't want that nigga doing that. Baby was standing there and he looking for people that he knew. And he may ask, how many with you? And if you say 10, Baby still gonna point and he'll be like, I got him, her, and her. And he gonna walk off from the door. And whatever he say to come in, that's who could go in. And everybody else would just be asked out. So I would be looking for somebody like Big Red or CeeLo would know to be at the door, or he would tell me what time to come up, that they were still on the bus and they were getting ready to go in, and make sure I'm standing there when they're getting ready to go in so we can go in together. So I appreciate Red for always making sure that all of my people were in, whether it was 5 additional people, whether it was 15 additional people. Red always made sure all of my people were in. So to say we couldn't stand each other when we first met each other, he became like my go-to. He was I know I'm saying that he was a bodyguard. And when I met them, he was a bodyguard. He was whatever Baby needed Red to be, that's what Red was. Don't mind me if I'm saying Baby. Birdman just like is not in my head. It's not in my vocabulary. I call him Baby. Big Red calls him Stunner. Bubba. He don't call him Stunner. He call him Bubba. And for Slim, Red calls Slim Giant. So whenever I see Red, or if I'm gonna be close to where Red is, I make sure and I come and I holler at him, because I appreciate, that he wouldn't leave any of my people out. And we always got in, whether we were in Houston, whether we were in Atlanta, Phoenix, wherever. my people ain't have nothing to worry about. They were coming in. So now that he has not been with Cash Money for probably the last 8 years or so, he kind of retired himself. He, you know, has diabetes and his vision isn't the greatest. So he's not able to like read stuff online and know what's going on with Cash Money, or whatever. So whenever I come to town or I call him, that's when he gets his information. The information may be a week late, a month late, whatever, um, because he can't see to read um, what's going on with them. And it breaks my heart that he's in this situation, but the industry coming up in the industry then, not saying that it's much better now, but coming up in the industry then, they didn't have medical insurance, no kind of health insurance or whatever. So he was not able to have surgery to fix his sight. And so he's resigned basically to his fate that his vision is going to get worse and he won't be able to see. So whenever I come into town and we're able to kind of reminisce and talk about things, Cash Money, there's another person that we hang out with, met her back in 99 as well. And so the three of us can talk about things that happened in the past and things that are happening now. And we are aware that Cash Money is a Black owned business that has been successful for about 30 years now. And they're one of the only labels now that are not attached to some type of RICO charges. So I admire that about Cash Money and how they've been able to keep their names out of headlines and court documents. I definitely admire that about them. With that being said, I don't do lives because I have to be careful what I say. Um, I don't want anything that I say to be misconstrued by anyone, um, and used in a negative way to throw anything back at Cash Money Records. So I don't go live. I'll usually do videos. I've got lots of videos recorded that I have not put out because I scrutinize everything that I say because I don't want to say the wrong thing. The other day when Red and I were talking, I'm going to give y'all a nugget of information that I didn't know. So I'm going to tell y'all something that I did not know until Red told it to me the other day. Maybe I'll be able to get Red on here one day and he'll be able to talk. But we were talking about CeeLo, and he couldn't believe kind of some of the things I was saying about CeeLo. I would never say anything bad about him, especially that he's resting in peace. But I was telling him some of the things about CeeLo. I was like, he was really, really jealous. He was a really jealous guy. And, he did this, he did this, he did this. He would make me go and make the microwave ding just to prove I was at home. Like, what the fuck? Don't all microwave dings sound alike? Like, so he would make me go and like make the microwave ding, or he would tell me to hang up from the cell phone and call him back from the house phone, so he would know I was home. Whenever they would touch back down in New Orleans, his house was over by Juvenile's house in Mandeville. And so whenever they would touch down, the airport was in Kenner. So he would get his stuff and he would head to Mandeville. I lived either in Metairie or on the West Bank. And so I would have to get all my stuff to get, because you wouldn't get a phone call ahead of time. You wouldn't get a warning saying, okay, we coming home. We should be there in about 2 hours. He never did that. Never did that. He would only call once they touched down and say, okay, we here. Meet me at the house. He knew exactly how long it would take me to get from either the West Bank or Metairie. He knew exactly how long it would take me to get from the West Bank or from Metairie to Mandeville. And I remember one night I was going, and there's a 27-mile bridge that separates New Orleans from um, St. Tammany Parish, which is Covington, Mandeville. So on that 27-mile bridge, as many times as I crossed that bridge to go to his house, the bridge had never, ever, ever, ever been up for a boat to pass. This one particular night, the bridge was up. He had made it home. The bridge was down when he was going across, but when I was coming across, the bridge was up. So I had to sit there and wait for the boat to pass and for the bridge to go back down so I could cross. And he kept calling, where you at? I know how long it take you to get here. You lying. And I'm like, I'm not lying. I'm like, the bridge is up. Like, I can't move. The bridge is up. And so it was little things like that. I remember Juvie had a show at one of the warehouses on Chapatulas. And at that show, everybody was at that show. I remember Juvie Mama was there with all them goals in our mouth. We was in the back eating Popeyes. And all of a sudden, here's CeeLo talking about, come here. I'm like, for what? This dude done found a chair from somewhere and sat that chair on the stage, all the way to the back of the stage, to the right, to the back right of the stage, and told me sit right there. I couldn't move from right there. I had to sit there while Juvie did that concert. And I was just like, man, I can't believe I went through some of this stuff. And so getting back to what Red told me that I didn't know about, I do know, I did know that at times CeeLo, would, it's the rap game. So I'm not gonna come out and say what he would, but I knew when I packed up his stuff that, I remember the first time I saw like a bulletproof vest, and I was just like, what the fuck? Um, and I didn't want him to go, because at that point it made it really real to me what they were dealing with out on the road. Like, you really leaving here with a bulletproof vest. Um, so Red was telling me that CeeLo and Ziggly Wiggly had a disagreement. He didn't tell me what the disagreement was about. So I still don't know what the disagreement was about. But Ziggly Wiggly, if you see this video, um, you feel free to come back and say whether what Red said was right or wrong. So I'll say allegedly, because I wasn't there. I don't know. So Red asked me if I was there when CeeLo pulled that iron on Ziggly Wiggly. I'm like, what? I'm like, no. I'm like, he did that? And he say, man, he say, all the time I've been that he rode with them, that was the only time he seen CeeLo up it, was with Ziggly Wiggly. And it messed me up because I never knew that with Ziggly Wiggly, Big Chief toilet paper. My friend and I, the other one who I said that we know Red, both of us know Red all the way back to 1999, the three of us. Um, she and I, one night after a party that Baby and them had at the Superdome, whenever they would have parties at the dome, it wasn't the full dome. It was just like these rooms, these side rooms they have at the dome, and the parties would be in the little side rooms. Um, so after one of those parties they had at the dome, I don't know how we ended up in the limo with Ziggly and somebody else, and with it was a lot of stunting. I'm just gonna say that. It was a lot of fucking stunting going on back in the day in 1999. I'm not gonna say Baby and them didn't have money. I've been told by some people that Baby and them didn't have two nickels to rub together. But I've been told by other people that Baby and them, Baby had the cars, Baby had, clothes, whatever, whatever. Prime saying he taught Baby how to stunt. What the truth is, I can only say from my perspective and what I saw from the time I moved to New Orleans in 1999. So with Cash Money, when I met them, Shoney's Inn on Clearview Parkway was basically their home. It was basically their home. They pretty much lived out of that hotel. Baby paid for the rooms for everybody. So for any shark or artist or whatever that needed to be at the hotel, Baby would go in the office and pay for all the rooms. I have a video that I did of the Shoney's Inn because when I went there, they had pulled all the furniture and everything out. So I wanted to do a video because I didn't know if they were going to tear it down or not. So, you know, these boys, I don't want to say they ain't have a to piss in, but the bragging that you hear in the music, it everything was capped. Every up until a certain point, almost everything was capped. That, that they kind of talked about. Um, wow. So with Ziggler Wiggler. One night after a party at the Dome, I don't know how me and my friend ended up in the limo with some of them, and they was like, "Man, I wish we could get a hotel room for the night." And Ziggy comes up with this bright idea of y'all go in there. We pulled up to a hotel. He said, y'all go in there And y'all tell the person at the desk that juvenile is in the limo and he need a room. Man, we went in in that office, told them people just what Ziggly Wiggly said to say, that Juvie was in the limo, and them motherfucking people gave that boy a room. Y'all heard what I said? Even baby don't know this. Juvenile don't know this. Don't nobody know this except for the people that was there that night. And sorry, Ziegler, I'm telling it. So they, everything was like we talk about. Um, I don't want to call it a scam, but we talk about how people get over nowadays, but niggas was figuring out some ingenious shit back then, like how to get a free hotel room. What? Okay, all we gotta do is tell them juvie in the limo, and they gonna up the room, and that's what it was. That kind of opened some doors to getting hotel rooms for people. Just tell them juvie in the limo. And people love juvie, so they gonna give them the room. You can't do that shit now, but this what we was doing back then, because it's like a lot of them didn't have rides to get nowhere. Some may not have had um, a stable home or whatever, so they would stay at the Shoney's Inn. And like I said, baby was paying for the rooms at the Shoney's Inn, so some of them was staying over there. And once I kind of became connected, I had transportation. So I would take them like from the Shoney's Inn back over to the Magnolia, from the Magnolia to the Shoney's Inn, whatever. Sometimes from the Shoney's Inn to the office, or from the Magnolia to the office, when they were supposed to get paid, whenever payday would come, and it was supposed to be payday. And there were times, I'm telling this story for the very first time, people have wanted to know for a very long time if it was true whether Stunner paid his people or not. And I'm not saying this to make Stunner look bad or whatever. He's a very successful businessman along with his brother. So, things in the past just shouldn't matter anymore. But, people have always asked the questions, is this true? Is this true? There's always been a lot of mystery around Baby and his past. So I'm going to answer a question for y'all. And it's 100% true. I'm not saying allegedly. If you're going to sue me, goddamn it, take me to motherfucking court. I got other people that will come back behind me and say the same shit. So when it came to Baby paying his people, whenever they would be out on the road, you had sharks that might go out on the road with nothing. The white t-shirts, the T's, Bows, and Rees was Cash Money's signature shit. So the white t-shirt was really the thing that they needed the most of. So they might wear a white t-shirt, do a show, come off stage, take that white t-shirt off and throw it away. Um, I'm sure from the time I met them in 99, at least until maybe 2015, 2016, because I stopped traveling with them after a while. They have thrown away thousands and thousands and thousands of white t-shirts. And if those maids in those hotel rooms would have known that, Cash Money Records, Baby Slim would go on to be as big as they are, they would have saved, some of those t-shirts. Because they would leave the room when they would leave and get ready to go to the next city. Whatever t-shirts that they had worn, whether it was 2 t-shirts or 20 t-shirts, whatever t-shirts they had worn, they would just leave them in the room. Just leave them. Because they're not going to wear them again. They get to the next city and buy all new white t-shirts. So with Baby, whenever they would go to the mall and they're in the mall shopping, and I know y'all keep hearing me refer to people as sharks. The sharks was, I guess in 2023, y'all might call them do boys or whatever. Um, they would be in the mall shopping, and Baby might, pay for everybody's stuff. Whatever everybody picked up, Baby paid for all of it. Whether it costs $20 or $200, Baby just go pay for all of it. So whenever they get back to New Orleans, and you got to think, they might stop in 5 cities. So they'll do the same thing over and over again. 5 cities. Go to the mall. Baby pay for everything. Baby might pay for food, or if Baby didn't pay for food, somebody else who had money, like Red, would pay for food for somebody else. So whenever they would get back to the city, and whatever obligations they had here at home, such as let me see, rent. That's a good one. Rent. Goddamn, nigga need a place to live. If they had family obligations back at home, they touch down in New Orleans, they go to Shoney's Inn. I'm only gonna speak about like what I do. After the Rough Riders, Cash Money Rough Riders tour, 99 into 2000, when they touched back down in New Orleans, Baby had just signed that deal with Universal Records, November of 99, $100 million. So 100 million doesn't mean 100 million. You got taxes that you have to pay on that. He had X that he had to pay. He had to pay the Hot Boys. He had to pay Fresh. He also was paying, I think his name was Byron Thomas, who was, he's out of prison now, but Byron was in prison, but still listed as a producer, I believe. If you look back at the CD covers, you'll see him. I think maybe he was the management, well, not a producer. He was the management company, and I can't tell y'all the story of what happened behind that. The story kind of trickled to me that whatever happened, Baby told him, wait, Byron is Fresh. This is another guy. He's listed as management. He was in prison, and Baby told him he would take care of him and his family while he was doing his time. And so every album that came out, you saw his name on that album. Even though he was in prison, you would see him getting a title on those albums, even though physically he wasn't present. because baby promised that he would take care of the family and take care of him while he was locked up. So whenever they came back from this Rough Riders Cash Money tour, they were supposed to get paid. Um, Baby told them a certain day to come to the office to get paid. So, of course, people needed a ride to get to the office. And I would be in the Magnolia by Miss Tammy a lot. For people who know, you know, um, Juve people, Miss Tammy, I would be over there in the Magnolia a lot. So I would give them rides from there to get to the office. If baby told them specifically, come this day at this time, this is the time you might have 20 niggas sitting in the office waiting on baby to get paid. We would get to the office. I'm not saying allegedly because I was there, sitting waiting with them niggas as if I was waiting to get paid too. Um, them niggas would sit in that office for anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, hungry, having to pee, all kinds of shit. But they would not knock on that man's door or nothing and say, we here to get paid. They would just sit in the office because he would tell them, come to the office this day, this time, I'm pay y'all. So they would get there expecting he would come out of the office and pay them. Baby would not come out of their office. After about 6 hours, he would come out the office and ask them what they doing there. Like, nigga, you told them to come here and get paid. The fuck you mean? What what y'all doing here? And man, I can't even tell y'all the looks on these people's faces when they would have to leave their office with no money. Sometimes baby would say he paid them already because whatever he would buy for them on the road whenever they would be in the malls, and he would pay for their stuff in the malls or whatever, he would consider that as part of their payment. See, he didn't make this clear to them up front. It only came back on the back end. So he would tell them, remember them 5 white t-shirts you got that was $15 each or whatever? And they couldn't argue with him. You can't argue with the man. Like he did pay for the shit. But now people getting ready to get evicted from their houses or whatever because they can't get the rent money to take home to their families because baby was like, I paid y'all when I paid for y'all shit in the mall. And Red said that I look at it from, to me, I don't see another way to look at it. I'm an outsider. I'm not I didn't grow up in that like they did. So of course I'm going to look at it different. And my rent is more important than white t-shirts. But if you would have told me up front that if you pay for these white t-shirts, you're not going to pay me when we get back home, I'd have said, fuck the white t-shirts. But he didn't give them that option. And so I'm not speaking ill. Even though I am speaking ill of baby, I'm not speaking ill of baby. I'm not from their culture. So I'm seeing it how I see it. And I just felt like a heads up would have been everything, because that didn't happen just one time. It happened multiple times where baby did that. And a few people got the picture early on, like um, Slab One, DJ Slab One. DJ Slab One was one of the first of the original crew that left, because he couldn't, he had to take care of his family. He could not ride with Cash Money and not make actual money to take care of his family. You know, saying you with Cash Money might be good for getting pussy, but it ain't paying the bills. So DJ Slab One was one of the first that I remembered that left crew early on. Um, I want to say somewhere down the line, Big Woo might have left. Um, and as you kept going, kept going on, some were drunk with the celebrity of it all. So they were able to look past the money part of it, because, they were still able to travel, still able to eat, but most of all, meet women, get pussy, for what that was worth. And I remember when Traven left, um, it was just on the outside looking in. Baby was paying for hotels, and where Big Red came in at with that was the ticket sales. Big Red was a bodyguard first, but he sold tickets. His job was to sell the the tickets that the I'm guessing Universal may have, or the venue would provide Baby with 100 tickets at each venue. And once they would give Baby the 100 tickets, Baby would in turn give those 100 tickets to Big Red. Big Red would take those 100 tickets and go and scalp them. And whatever money Red made off of those tickets, whether it was 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, he would split that money with Baby. Whether it was 70-30, 60-40, 50-50, I don't know. I've never been told. Has explained to me that he was never paid. He was never officially paid from Baby as an official Cash Money Records member, bodyguard, whatever. His pay came from scalping the tickets at each venue they would go to. And so he has never had to sit at the office and wait to get paid. So when Red and I talk, and we kind of, go back and we compare notes, he's like, he'll say, I never saw that. Because whenever they would come in, whenever they would come back, Red didn't live in the city. Red lived outside the city. So he would jump in his car, and he already had his money because he got the money from selling the tickets. And if they had 2 shows a week, or 3 shows a week, that's however much Red made selling tickets at each venue. If it was 3 times for that week, he might have took home 10, 12, $15,000. Um, and the rest went to Baby, and Baby would use that money to pay for like hotels, pay the bus drivers, whatever. And I'm giving y'all a look into the industry. This may be some shit y'all ain't never heard before. And I hope nobody's upset with me for saying it, but being careful about shit that I say. Um, but I know people have questions about, did this really happen? Did that really happen? There's a lot of things, a lot of questions I'm not going to answer. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. But certain things that I feel like I can answer, I'll answer as much as I can. So Red, he would, you know, already have his money, and he would just jump and go home. So he never had to sit in the office and wait for anybody to pay him, because Baby trusted him so much, because they grew up together. Baby trusted him to take those 100 tickets, sell those 100 tickets, accurately tell him how much he made off of those 100 tickets so they could do a split. Um, Baby has always trusted Red, and I believe to this day, Baby still trusts Red. And even though Red has not ridden with them in about 8 years, maybe more, it may be closer to 10 years, um, that no matter what venue they're at, if Baby sees Red, he gonna tell him to let him in. Um, he never had to worry about, Red going back telling none of his shit or trying to pull a fast one on him. That's for sure. Um, Let me think. Uh, Again, I told y'all that a lot of the stuff, a lot of songs, it was a lot of capping going on in the songs. A lot of capping. When I first met Juvie in, that was in 99. When I first met Juve, he, they always talking about Magnolia, Magnolia, Magnolia. Yeah, Miss Tammy lived in the Magnolia. When I met Juvie, Juvie was living over by the warehouse district on the other, like by Chapatulas and the warehouses over there. I have a picture that I took of my friend with Juvie in that purple Tahoe before Baby and them signed the deal in November. Juvie truck was plain, and he was living uptown off of Chapatulas, in that warehouse district. And I just remember, seeing them, get the money. I remember the day that Slim and Baby flew to New York to do the deal with Universal. And Universal hadn't seen nobody come in the office in Tees, Bulls, and Reese to do business. But Baby and Slim were adamant that they were not going to change who they were, um, for business, that they were going to accept them as they were, some New Orleans niggas, or they just wasn't going to rock like that. So They went out there, they got the deal done, and good job for them. They were able to keep their masters, their publishing. That was huge. It was a huge deal what him and Slim accomplished when they went to New York and met with Universal, and got the deal done. Now, I did some research. I know I don't have anybody in here watching me, but maybe somebody will go back and watch the video because I'm throwing out some nuggets, some shit that I know y'all ain't never heard before. Um, I was doing some research because one of the videos that I did that I have not posted yet, I may post it, I may not. Um, when I do the videos, I want to be able to verify the information for you guys so that you know that I'm telling you all the truth. And there's no reason for me to say allegedly. So I went into the court papers because I was trying to find out. I'd always heard that Cash Money never signed a contract with any of the artists with Manny Fresh, in which Fresh was the in-house producer, and that there wasn't a contract signed with them. So it was always hearsay, but as Tanut, I think Tanut started because Juvie always had his dad with him, like his dad and his brother. Well, you saw Juvie, you would see JD, and you would see Corey with him. So as Juve got older, Juve, as he's becoming a man, he's starting to think for himself. He's like, I want to be able to account for my own shit, my own money. I understand I'm a part of a group, the Hot Boys, but I'm still a solo artist, Juvenile. Um, so when Juve got like 17, 18, he started picking up more of the business and, looking at things, I guess, instead of locally, just like Baby them, they stopped looking at things locally and started looking at things globally. So Juvenile, as a solo artist, he's looking at that shit too. And being with Cash Money back then, I used to hear all the time that they were not allowed to work with artists outside of the family of Cash Money Records. That the only collabs they could do was with each other and the in-house producer, which was Manny Fresh. And Fresh had a unique sound. He had a New Orleans sound, and it was good for, you know, the time they founded Cash Money Records, I believe in 94, 95. It was good. But once they signed that deal with Universal, now Universal is, going to diversify, and you can't stay stuck in your ways. So I wanted to know if it was true that there was no contract with any of the artists on Cash Money Records, between the artist and Cash Money, or was it just a handshake? You know, and I had just heard all the time that there's no contract. It's a verbal contract. It's handshake. And I couldn't believe it because for Wayne, his mom, Wayne was 14 when I met them, and his mother, Miss Sita, would come sometimes and bring him to the bus whenever they were getting ready to go and do shows. And Wayne at the time still had tutors tutoring him for school. And his mom would tell baby stuff like, make sure he do his schoolwork, whatever, whatever. So if a mom is that invested that she wants her son to do his schoolwork, I felt like she will also make sure the contract was right. With Juvie, because his father and his brother were there, I felt like they would make sure the contract was right, that it was, not verbal, it was written, and these are the terms, these are the conditions, yada yada. And bombshell, bombshell. I wish I had the papers in here with me, but I don't. So I went to Pacer. Everybody knows what Pacer is. Pacer is the federal. You could look up any federal case through Pacer. Um, so when Lil Wayne and YMCMB sued Baby and Cash Money Records, there was a date on it within that lawsuit. It listed the date that Lil Wayne, and I'm assuming if Lil Wayne signed a contract on that date in 1999, then so did Juvenile, so did Turk, so did BG, so did Manny Fresh. So that told me that there was no contract prior to 1999, and that what I had heard was true. There was no contract, it was all verbal between the parties prior to them signing with Universal Records. So the contract that was signed with the artists and Cash Money Records came about as a result of the deal with Universal. So with Wayne suing Cash Money, he had to include in the paperwork the date that, the terms of the contract. So it listed the terms of the contract, how many albums he would owe them upon signing the contract, what the terms of the contract was as far as publishing, um, ownership of masters, and things like that are all listed in this lawsuit that Lil Wayne had against Baby and Cash Money Records. Now, I can show y'all the paperwork. I don't know that I will show y'all the paperwork. Um, I'm gonna tell y'all this. It is something that I haven't seen. I have not seen this. Wayne didn't talk about why. Why did you sue Brian Baby Williams, Ronald Slim Williams, and Cash Money Records? Why did Dwayne Carter sue them? And the paperwork is 19 pages long. About 99% of the paperwork for that case is sealed, still sealed to this day. What wasn't sealed was the original complaint, where Wayne filed the lawsuit. That part wasn't sealed. So that's the part I was able to get. Again, it's 19 pages long. I'm being specific so y'all know I'm not lying. Um, in the complaint, Lil Wayne alleges that Baby registered two of his albums. Um, I believe it was the Carter 3 and I Am Not a Human Being. Baby registered those two albums to himself and Cash Money Records. So the masters, the publishing, everything that had to do with everything, all was in Baby name and Cash Money Records name. Let me stop saying Baby. I don't want to say that because I'm not speaking against the man. I'm just speaking the facts of the case and what brought about the rift between Baby and Lil Wayne. So Baby registered those two albums under Cash Money Records with no mention at all of Dwayne Carter. So all the royalties, everything that that's associated with those two albums went to Cash Money Records and Brian, Baby and Slim didn't go to Wayne. So as a result, you know, it seems like that was a very, very sore spot for Wayne on top of what was going on with Young Money. So YMCMB is owned by both Baby and Lil Wayne. YMCMB is 51% owned by Brian Baby Williams and Cash Money Records. YMCMB is 49% owned by Lil Wayne. Now, Lil Wayne also was the president of Cash Money Records. I know it's a lot, and y'all can go do your research. You know, do your research on your own. You'll see what I'm telling you. It seems like it's a tangled weave, a tangled web, but it'll make sense to you once you read the complaint of the lawsuit. It'll make sense to you. By Cash Money Records owning 51% of YMCMB, Cash Money promised that there were certain things that they would provide on their end for YMCMB. And a part of that was they had to open and maintain an account that would have, I believe, $5 million in it. This account would have to um, keep that 5 million in it for the overhead and the expenses and everything of YMCMB. And that, I'm not going to say it didn't happen, but according to the paperwork, according to the lawsuit, Cash Money failed to maintain um, that money in an account for YMCMB to be able to function as a company. Um, so, those were a couple of things that were going on with Cash Money and Young Money. And I know I'm seeming long winded, y'all, but I haven't, like, this is my first time going live and I'm losing my damn mind. But it's just so much that um, I want to give y'all information on, but because I am in the process of moving and I'm in the midst of 30 days of vacation before I move to my new home, um, I can't really do videos like I would like to. So it's like I'm trying to get everything out that's kind of jumbled up in my head. Because when I presented you all this paperwork or talked about this paperwork, I wanted to actually be able to show you all the paperwork. I do have it, it's inside, and I'll do a screenshot and post it to my Instagram. My Instagram is triplekmedia, TRIPLEKMEDIA. Um, so I'll do a copy and post it on the gram. One other thing that was in the paperwork that is not known to the public, and it's like I'm hesitating, but this is public information. Anybody can go on Pacer and type in YMCMB, Dwayne Carter, or Young Money, and the lawsuit will come up. Dwayne Carter versus Cash Money Records. So even though I seem a little hesitant, it's because, if I was just a blogger, just fucking blogging, I probably would care. But, you know, choosing things wisely. But it's public information. So I'm not saying anything that no one else, can't just log on to Pacer and pull the paperwork themselves and put it out there. Um, it's just that I'm saying it now because I've read the paperwork. I have the paperwork. I have the paperwork printed. I just haven't shown it to you all. Um, the other thing that caught my eye within the paperwork was the fact that Wayne was bringing X to Young Money, you know, by him being the president of Young Money. He was signing and, trying to sign and bring X to Cash Money. And in the lawsuit, in the paperwork, um, go and pull it up. I implore you. It Whatever I say, and if I say it has paperwork, go and pull the paperwork up for yourself. Um, Lil Wayne, these are his words in this lawsuit because this is the complaint. So these are Lil Wayne's thoughts, feelings, and words. And Lil Wayne said in that lawsuit that, baby, And Slim doesn't really have anything, in my eyes, from what I saw. Slim doesn't really have anything to do with the creative side. It's like Slim is the money man. Slim was always the one go in the club, collect the money before the show. If Slim didn't get the money, them niggas leaving. Um, so when I say baby, and being specific to baby, just take it as Cash Money Records. I'm not speaking specifically of baby, but because the rift was between baby and Wayne is why you keep hearing me say baby, baby, baby. But it's really Young Money on this side, Cash Money on this side. But we know real life, it turned into Stunner versus Lil Wayne. So the Wayne was trying to bring talent to YMCMB. Baby was rejecting pretty much all the talent that Wayne was bringing to him. I remember the first night, and I have a picture. I have a picture with Drake. I remember the first night that Wayne brought Drake. It was a show at the Dome. I took a picture. I took a lot of pictures with Khaled, um, Travis Barker, um, Wayne brought Drake out on stage that night. Carrie Hilson opened for him, and Wayne brought Drake out that night and introduced him and said he was going to be a part of Young Money at that show. I remember that. But in his lawsuit, is saying that Baby was rejecting the artist that Wayne brought to him. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because with Baby, it was like he was fawning over Nicki. Like, I remember one interview he said, whatever Barbie want, Barbie could get, you know. But the lawsuit basically said, you ain't want her, you ain't want Drake. But then when they turned into money makers, it's like you changed your tune. Um, so yeah, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that, but the paperwork says that Baby was rejecting artists that Wayne was bringing to him. I don't know if y'all remember the song that the big group of them did, Bedrock, and it was a whole bunch of them. Tiger, all of them was rapping on it. And it's almost like the only ones that survived from that was Nicki, Drake, and Tiger. And everybody else just kind of fell by the wayside. And it's like, that kind of was that. So the bad blood between Wayne and Baby all started because Baby registered 2 albums of Wayne's to Cash Money Records, to include masters, royalties, publishing everything. Nothing was in Lil Wayne's name. And that is why they appeared they appeared to squash their beef. Again, the paperwork is sealed. They settled out of court. I don't know what the settlement was, um, but whatever it was, I'm guessing Wayne was happy with whatever the settlement was, because the lawsuit has never come back up. Um, After that, it gave Juvenile some hope to be able to recover monies that he had never been paid. Um, and I was happy to see myself that Baby came out and said that he had put Doogie's money to the side and that Doogie was going to be straight whenever he came home from prison. The only person, well, only really two people. I don't know if Turk was owed anything. So with Turk's situation, I don't know what his situation was. I know what happened with Juvenile. I know that Baby bought him a Bentley. It was a blue Bentley. He bought him for his birthday. And when Juvie went to him and asked to be paid his money, Baby said, I paid you already. And he said that Bentley, that like, I paid you. I paid you that Bentley. And Juve, like, that was a birthday present. He's like, nah, nigga, you done been Suge Knighted. Allegedly. Allegedly. Because they may come out and say it didn't happen, but I got I got people that know it did. Um, I don't know if they'll say it, but um, so allegedly, Baby squared things up with Juvie, and so Juve said, him and Baby good right now. Y'all see when y'all see Juvie, he's wearing a Rich Gang chain. Um, I haven't seen them work together, so I don't know, if that's a facade, the mending of that relationship. In 2016, Baby and Fresh came together at the House of Blues in New Orleans for a reunion. They were supposed to be getting back together as the Big Timers. And I went to the show hopeful that it was going to happen. The club was packed, and we were hopeful that whatever happened between Fresh and Baby, that it would be able to be put aside, and that they would be able to come together and bring the core of Cash Money back together. But it did not happen. I have video footage of the concert. Um, and I'm disappointed because I was excited to be able to see that they were all able to put their differences aside and come back together. But I understand that there are some things as men, there's some things that you can't come back from. And Wayne kind of grew up like a son to Baby. And I guess, for you to take ownership of his original works had to hurt. It had to hurt. Lil Wayne was the only, when I say the only, Lil Wayne was the only one of all of the hot boys and the big timers that I ever saw with a notebook. He would keep a little like 70-page notebook with him all the time. And at first I thought it was like his schoolwork. I told y'all about the tutors. I thought it was his schoolwork that he was carrying. But Wayne has been a writer of hip hop from a very, very early age. It's like when everybody else was concerned about getting some, going to a club or whatever, Wayne's mind was just seemed to always be on writing. He kept that notebook with him. Anytime something would come up that he would think about, you would see him writing. And it was just, I didn't know that that's what he was doing back then. I didn't figure that out until he went to Rikers Island. And at Rikers Island, he was saying that he had done an album at Rikers and that he had gotten into spitting without writing stuff down. So he had gotten so good at his craft that he no longer had to write. Like he could just go in the booth and spit it, and that that's what it was. So I can understand his point of view because he was so dedicated to his craft. He was the only one that I knew of, that I saw, that would constantly keep something with him so he could write. As for Juvie Turk, BG, and Baby and Fresh, I don't know if they wrote their rhymes when they got to the studio. I don't know their process and how they, wrote their rhymes or whatever. But Wayne was the only one that I saw that was constantly, any idea he came up with, he was constantly writing. And that was from age 13, 14 on through now. And the man's catalog is so massive that is no way. I think that if an awards show like we at Hip Hop 50, if Hip Hop 50 did a show and would have, let's say, the 5 greatest MCs of the 2000s or whatever, I'm sure Wayne would be one of those. And they could give Wayne 2 hours, 3 hours, hell, maybe even 5 hours to do a set, or do his own show, and he still wouldn't be able to perform all of the songs he has over his long career. This man had no childhood, none. I love his songs, their songs. I'm not going to just say his because all of them were on each other's songs all the time. And I love their old stuff. But when he did the interview saying that he can't remember the lyrics to some of his songs because of the seizures he had, that makes me sad because, some of those songs we fell in, that made us fall in love with the Hot Boys and Wayne as an individual artist, Juvenile as an individual artist, because even though they did their individual projects, they were all still on each other's projects, you know. So whether you look at them individually or as a whole, they all impacted each other's careers in some way. Um, even though Wayne went on to be the biggest, they still all influenced each other's careers. And he would never be able to perform um, all of those songs to get back with the. I would love to see him get back with the Hot Boys and perform. Give me five of y'all hottest songs and perform them. But he probably hasn't performed them in so long that he doesn't remember them, and that makes me sad. I remember with Prince, and I finally went to see him in concert. I fell in love with all of Prince's early stuff, Dirty Mind, For You, Controversy. I fell in love with all of the raunchy stuff. And when I went to see him in concert in New Orleans, he was doing a tour. And that tour, he said that was going to be his last time performing those songs because he was a Jehovah's Witness and he no longer could perform the songs with that amount of sex and raunchiness in them. And so I went to the concert. Some people don't go places by themselves, but I went to that concert by myself because I had to see him perform, some of my favorite songs before he stopped performing them on tours altogether. And I did not go back to see him in concert after that because the essence of what made me fall in love with him was no longer going to be performed. And that's kind of how I feel about Wayne. I've seen them in concert so many times, but the nostalgia of it right now, Hip Hop 50, the nostalgia of being able to see the Hot Boys and the Big Timers, and how after 25 years of Juvenile's album 400 Degrees is what got them signed to Universal Records. And so November of this year will be the 25th year anniversary of 400 Degrees and Back That Ass Up. So hour and a half I've been on here just rambling, but y'all got a little something out of me. I've given y'all some nuggets. If you're a YouTuber, a blogger in some kind of way, as I said, go and do the research for yourself. Go to Pacer, pull up the paperwork, and you'll see that the paperwork is there and what caused the rift between Lil Wayne and Baby. Just do research for yourself. Don't take anybody else's word for it. Not doing this again to bash Cash Money Records. Big Red said that to me the other day. He said, wow, he said, you must really dislike Bubba. I said, what make you say that? And he said, because everything I say, you say the opposite. And I said, no. I said, what you're doing is you're looking at it as a whole, but you have to look at it as kind of two halves to a whole. You're looking at it from you grew up with them, you were in it with them. I'm looking at it from an outsider's perspective. There are things that happen in the background that I don't know about. So, of course, my perspective is going to be different than his perspective. on things. And, I was like, I have always spoken up for Cash Money Records before I even started the YouTube channel, um, talking about New Orleans and Cash Money and No Limit and all of this. I went to Red. CeeLo is already deceased since 2020. I went to Red and asked Red what he thought before I got online and started talking the business. And, he said everybody else is out here making money off of everybody's name or whatever. And a lot of stuff is stuff they heard or whatever. But you were there. You have firsthand information. And it's your story. Go out and tell your story how you want to tell it. But again, he feels like I had something maybe personal against Baby because we were talking about the cars. Um, and for the people who know, when they came back off of the Cash Money Rough Riders tour. Now, Baby and Slim had just signed a $100 million deal with Universal at the end of '99. Then they immediately turned around and went on the Cash Money Rough Riders tour. So when they came back off of that tour, when they touched down in New Orleans, Baby took his people, or he told his people to meet him at the car dealership. And, he was like, meet me over here. I'm going to help everybody get a car. He did not pay cash for those cars. He put down payments or whatever on the cars for these guys. And everybody got to pick out what they wanted for those who showed up. Allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly. I was not at the car dealership. I was not at the car dealership. However, I was at his sister's house. His nephew, Ray, was a part of his security. And he was staying on the West Bank. So the nephew was supposed to go and get a car. And his car broke down. He wasn't able to make it over to the dealership that day. And so everybody else had gotten their cars. Big Woo had got, I believe, a Tahoe. The Ducky and Doe had got them Corvettes. I believe Jeffrey got an Escalade. Everybody that was there ended up with cars, but they ended up, he did the down payment, whatever, and they still had to pay their note on whatever cars they had. And I'm talking about the Sharks. I'm not talking about the artists at this time. They stuff came, but I'm talking about when he went to the dealership and got the stuff for the Sharks. So Ray, and I'm calling him Ray. His name is Kevin Simpson, and he is Baby and Slim's nephew. He is the son of one of Baby and Slim's sisters who is deceased. So when he came back from the military, he started working with his uncles. he could legally carry firearms. And so that's pretty much what his job was. His job was to put his name on the paperwork for the firearms because baby couldn't have firearms in his name, allegedly. So it was Ray's job to put your name down for the guns. So with Ray not being able to make it over to the dealership that day, um, it's kind of like baby was like, don't worry about it. We'll get together. We'll go back over there. Whoop de whoop, whatever, whatever. That day never came. They never went back to the dealership to get Ray a car. His car had broken down on him. He didn't have no transportation to be able to get from the West Bank to the Shawnee's Inn, from the West Bank to the office, whatever, whatever. Um, I drove him to a, a lot of places because I lived on the West Bank. He would catch rides and go over to the East Bank whenever they would get ready to go out or whatever. Now, I haven't talked to Ray in a very, very long time. Um, he was working at the Sewage and Water Board the last time we had talked. He had bought himself, started working at Sewage and Water Board, bought himself a little Dodge Magnum or whatever. I believe Kim might have had a Magnum too at the time. Kim is Slim and Baby's sister. Um, and Ray ended up kind of separating himself from the group because I'm not gonna put no words in his mouth, but I'm just gonna say he ended up kind of separating himself from the group because I guess he, as a nephew, to see his uncle buy the girl who worked in the office. I'm not gonna call her name, but the girl who worked at the office, and for those who know, he bought her a BMW and he paid cash for it. And I'm not saying that she didn't deserve it, because she did a lot for him. She did a lot of running, and so I'm not saying she didn't deserve it. And my opinion, she was the only one that I know of that he paid the car off. Like he paid cash for the car. Everybody else had notes as far as the Sharks went. They had notes. He paid her car off. And it was at that point that he kind of started distancing himself and, you know, got a job where he could, make a steady income and fend for himself. And so Red said that because of how I describe it, that, he felt like I didn't, I had a disdain for Baby because of that. It's not that I had a disdain, it's that this is your nephew. Like, his mom is gone. She's deceased. He riding for y'all. He is he's, keeping y'all safe. He have the weapons that keep y'all safe. And it may have been an inconvenience to have to, take time out of your day and go over there and get him a car. But at the end of the day, outside looking in and, seeing the look and the disappointment on his face that his uncle would do that to him, I saw that firsthand. And so Red, because of that, Red, I guess, feels like, I'm caught up in the emotion of what happened with Ray. And as a result, don't like Red. I mean, don't like Baby. And that's not the truth. I'm just like, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. I saw an interview not long ago that Miss Dorothy did. And Miss Dorothy is Baby and them sister. She is the mother of Lil Derek. Um, Lil Derek, I used to call him Dirty Derek because no matter how expensive, how much his clothes cost or whatever, to me, he just still looked like Dirty Derek. And so that's what I called him. I apologize, Miss Dorothy, but I'm just stating what happened and how I felt back then. Um, I remember at the video shoot for what was it? It was the video shoot where Steve Harvey, where the Kings of Comedy was in the video. We That video was done in City Park, and I got there early and thing, and with Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey, and um, what's the little other one with the little mark on his face? I can't even think, but they were not all together. Like, one would show up and shoot their scene, and then they would leave, and then we move on to the next scene location, and the next King Comedy would come and shoot their scene and finish their scene, and they would leave. And so uh, Derek, we were shooting Cedric the Entertainer's scene in City Park because he was in the back of a truck, some kind of grills, doing grills, and he was in the back of the truck, and Derek came out there, and I'm guessing Baby was supposed to be putting Derek on. So Derek maybe was supposed to be in the video. He might be in the video. I have to go back and look at the video and see. Derek might be in that video because he came with his little fresh fit on, telling us how much his fit cost, and whoop de whoop, and that's my uncle. And his mama did not lie. That little boy looked up to his uncles. He loved his uncles, and he was out there bragging. That's my uncles, and you know, um, so he was out there that day, and he was just so proud to be there. So happy to be there with them doing that video, and I have to look back because I'm old now, but I believe it was a couple months after that is when he was taken out. Um, but definitely, he, and I'm not gonna say definitely. It's a possibility Derek could still be here if he had been put on with his uncles. But it's unfortunate that not long after that, his life was taken uptown. And again, that's just looking at things from an outsider's perspective with Lil Derek and Baby, and how Baby related to his siblings. And I feel like if he would have taken his nephews and really did what he was supposed to do for his nephews wouldn't have strayed from him. So when it comes to Baby paying his artist or whatever, that part is true. That there is times when, I feel like, from when I was there and what I saw, he didn't pay. But like Red said, there are things that go on behind the scenes that I don't know about. And because I don't know about them, I can't just take what I'm seeing with my eyes to be 100% fact, because I don't know what has taken place behind the scenes. And so that was a very good point that he made to me. And I'm like, but I was never mad with Baby. I just couldn't understand how you could have, your family members and not do this for your family members, but for these street dudes, you could do this for these street dudes. And, it was said that Baby had more respect for the street dudes because that's what he came from. And he just had more respect for the street dude. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's allegedly. Um, I didn't grow up how he grew up. I didn't live how he lived. So I can just only tell y'all stories of what I saw when I was connected with Cash Money Records from 99 to 2020. And, y'all can form your own opinions about how you feel about it. So please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the video. I would definitely appreciate it. Um, Again, I'm going to post a picture of just a tiny bit of the paperwork showing the albums, showing that the albums that Baby registered in Cash Money's name. I'll post just that little snapshot of the paperwork on Instagram. And that's all I have. We're coming up on 2 hours. I done ran them out here for 2 hours, and I did a video for my genealogy channel, Genealogy with Queen. Over there, I did a video about Nottoway Plantation, and how to find your roots, your ancestors, if you were from South Louisiana. So basically finding your roots in South Louisiana if you are Cajun or Creole and you are looking to do your genealogy. I am giving the best tips that I can to assist you on your journey. So please go over to that channel, Genealogy with the Queen, and like, share, and subscribe to that channel as well. My Facebook is Triple K Media. My Instagram, Triple K Media. My TikTok, Triple K Media. And I think that's all I have. I do have, the next thing I have coming up is I'm going to talk about that interview that BG and Juvenile did back in 99. So I'll bring that out and we'll talk about that. So that's all I have for tonight. And those who popped your head in, I appreciate it. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Have a good night. This girl, Queen 504, signing out.